Hey everyone, welcome back to Poprageous. So after watching the first 3 episodes of Season 2 of Rings of Power, you realize that your lowest expectations weren't even close and how bad this TV show actually is. Just trying to stay awake is hard enough, but the worst part for me was when I sat down to write this review. The show was so lifeless and empty that I could barely remember what even happened.
What a mess.
This show comes across as a cookie-cutter style soap opera trying to use hundreds of millions of dollars to disguise itself as something out of J.R.R. Tolkien's universe. A soap opera production team puts out about 5 one-hour shows every week, which is why a soap opera feels the way it does. Basically, The Rings of Power is the most expensive soap opera ever made.
Well, you make a good point.
And by the way, my name is Danny Alex. I'm a screenwriter here in Los Angeles who's written several award-winning screenplays such as The Sicken, which we are currently working on producing. So a great movie or TV show should do one thing: create emotions. It has to make us feel angry, remorseful, jealous, envious, hatred, or sadness. The first 3 episodes of Season 2 of Rings of Power leaves you empty. You feel nothing. Nothing happens that makes you care about these characters and what they're working towards. There is no one to hate, no one to envy, not one character to sympathize with.
I feel nothing.
The characters are simple, 2-dimensional cutouts that lack any depth. They just go through the motions with simple scenes, speaking simple words, telling a simple story.
What am I to call you? I am a sharer of gifts.
Here's an idea. If you're going to make a show about how the Rings of Power were created, then maybe it's a good idea to focus on that. Why have the main story be crowded out by 5 or 6 other subplots that have no direct impact on the main story? At least not at this point. Take Lord of the Rings trilogy, for example. Everything and everyone in those films were a part of a single central conflict: the destruction of the ring and the defeat of Sauron. The story maintained focus, with clear protagonists, antagonists, and compelling reason for their actions. But in Rings of Power, we're saddled with a pointless Harfoot story, a meandering Numenor subplot, and a tedious soap opera involving Galadriel, Elrond, and Gil-galad.
Oh fuck, what a mess.
There's also a dull drama with the dwarves and Khazad-dûm, and the disconnected stories of Isildur, Arondir, and Adar and Mordor. With so many moving parts, the writers, they have to craft a compelling narrative that ties everything together for things to feel connected. But instead, what they do, they take Tolkien's rich lore and they turn it into a disjointed, sloppy mess.
What a mess.
They try to juggle too many storylines and characters, and as a result, they fail to make us care about any of them. They should have focused on Sauron, giving him room to develop as a rich, mysterious antagonist. Galadriel should be as she was written, more like the Galadriel we saw in Lord of the Rings. But instead, what we get is a diluted, emotionless, and empty high-priced daytime drama with bad sets, bad dialogue, bad acting, and non-existent world building.
What a mess, huh?
One thing that really got on my nerves was the cringe amount of soap opera style music that they lay on heavy and thick throughout each episode. It adds to that soap opera feel that the Rings of Power has. I mean, it's just horrible. If you do end up watching any part of Season 2, pay close attention to the music. You'll see exactly what I mean. The dialogue is written in simple sentences that feels like there's a 10-syllable maximum per line. At times, it tries to replicate the epic tone of the books, but it fails miserably at every attempt. The characters act like impulsive children making leaps of logic so they can advance the color-by-numbers plot. There's very little creativity and nothing to make us feel that we are even in a Tolkien universe.
What a mess.
Everything about the elves is cringe, and the world building is a chaotic mess of ideas that has no resemblance to J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth. Let me put it to you this way. If the CW was going to make a Lord of the Rings TV show, Rings of Power is exactly what it would look and feel like. Good job, JD and Patrick. Good job. The first 3 episodes are nothing but a sloppy mess of loosely related stories that are clumsily tied together with the simplest of plot points and characters that are about as memorable as a pony ride. And that's not being very nice to ponies. The writers are handed one of the most intriguing and compelling antagonists ever written in modern literature, but choose to portray Sauron as a half-baked, mindless, feeble human who stumbles his way like an idiot trying to create these rings of power. He should come across as a cunning, powerful servant of Morgoth. He should feel mysterious with a confidence and a charisma that captures our attention and steals the scene. He needs to feel like the Dark Lord, the main antagonist, Sauron. But in Rings of Power, he feels no more menacing than Nori Brandyfoot. The casting is simply terrible, and I hate saying it because some of these actors are pretty good. Even the best actor will look like an amateur with scripts as bad as the ones for Rings of Power. Bad scripts make bad actors out of everybody. Even the extras in the background feel miscast. Watch them. You can see how bad the direction is as they simply just walk around in the background, adding no flavor or feeling of realism. The crazy thing is that Patrick McKay and J.D. Payne have a blueprint of J.R.R. Tolkien's world and its characters. They have detailed visuals already created and source material they should use exclusively to form the basis for their characters and developing a theme and tone for the world. But all they're able to do is create an emotionless pile of empty and generic paint-by-numbers visual garbage. It's one of the most saddest things you'll ever see. And that's all I have to say about Rings of Power Season 2, Episodes 1 through 3, and I will see you in our next video. Cheers!